Once people pass the age of 60, they are often told that just 5 strength training exercises are enough to protect their bones, improve their balance, and maintain their independence. And while this idea sounds simple and appealing, it only tells part of the story. Many are led to believe that doing a few daily movements will automatically keep them strong and free from pain, but in reality, this advice is often incomplete and can sometimes contribute to a gradual loss of independence over time. After more than 30 years of working with older adults, it becomes clear that what is happening in the body after 60 is not simply a matter of getting weaker, but rather the result of an underlying medical condition known as sarcopenia, which refers to the progressive loss of muscle mass, strength, and overall function. This process begins quietly and often goes unnoticed in its early stages, but by the time individuals reach their 70s, they may have already lost up to 30% of their muscle strength, and the decline does not stop there. As balance starts to deteriorate, reaction time becomes slower, and even simple daily movements such as standing up from a chair begin to feel more difficult. What many people are not told is that research from Harvard Medical School in 2018 found that adults over 60 who consistently engaged in strength training experienced a 40% lower risk of losing mobility and independence compared to those who did not. And this was not based on intense workouts or gym routines, but rather on simple, consistent, and properly performed movements. This makes it clear that the real issue is not aging itself, but the fact that the muscles are no longer being used in the right way. And this is where most common advice fails, because while people are encouraged to walk more, stay active, and stretch, these actions alone do not stop muscle loss, do not rebuild strength, and do not provide protection against falls. What is actually required is a more targeted approach involving controlled strength movements that focus on the specific muscles responsible for keeping the body stable, upright, and independent. The encouraging part is that this decline is not permanent and does not have to be accepted as an inevitable part of aging, because the body is still capable of responding to the right type of movement even in the 70s and 80s. In clinical practice, it is common to see individuals who once felt weak, unsteady, and fearful of falling gradually regain their strength, confidence, and control, not through complex routines, but through a small number of precise and purposeful exercises. These exercises are not random, as each one serves a specific role and targets a function that the body depends on every day. And among them, there is one that is often overlooked yet plays a critical role in overall strength and independence. Before beginning, it is important to understand that there is no need for a gym, no requirement for expensive equipment, and no need to push the body to extreme limits, because what truly matters is performing the right movements correctly and consistently. The first exercise to begin with is the supported single-leg stand, which is commonly avoided because it can feel uncomfortable or unstable at the beginning, leading many people to believe that they simply do not have good balance and should therefore avoid practicing it altogether. However, from a clinical standpoint, balance is not something that remains automatically over time, but rather a skill that must be actively trained and maintained. This exercise primarily engages the gluteus medius, the quadriceps, and the smaller stabilizing muscles around the ankle, and together these muscles work to keep the body stable while standing on one leg, which is a position that naturally occurs with every step taken during walking. In fact, each step involves a brief moment of single-leg balance, and when this ability is not trained, the body's response time becomes slower. A feeling of unsteadiness begins to develop, and the ability to recover from a loss of balance becomes significantly reduced. Research conducted by the University of Pittsburgh in 2015 found that a shorter single-leg balance time is strongly associated with an increased risk of falls in older adults, highlighting the importance of maintaining this function. To perform the exercise safely, stand next to a chair and hold it with one hand while keeping your posture upright. Then slowly lift one foot a few inches off the ground without leaning your body, and hold this position for 10 to 15 seconds before gently placing your foot back down and switching sides. This sequence counts as one round, and it is recommended to repeat it 4 to 6 times on each leg once per day. As strength and confidence improve, progression can be achieved by gradually reducing the amount of support used, starting with a full hand grip, then moving to a lighter grip, then to fingertips, and eventually attempting to perform the exercise without holding on, but only when it feels safe to do so. This movement is recommended because it trains the body's ability to recover balance, which is a key factor in preventing falls in everyday situations. And as this ability improves, movement becomes easier, more controlled, and more confident over time. Now let's move on to the second exercise, which is the side step with support. This movement is often underestimated because many people believe that walking alone is enough to maintain stability, but walking does not properly train balance control, and it does not strengthen side-to-side stability. The primary muscle involved in this exercise is the gluteus medius, located on the outer part of your hip, along with smaller stabilizing muscles around the ankle, and together these muscles are responsible for keeping you steady when shifting your weight, which is something that happens every time you walk, turn, or move sideways. When this area becomes weak, your steps begin to lose control. Your body may start to sway, and even small slips become more difficult to correct in time. Research from Johns Hopkins University in 2017 found that reduced hip stability is directly linked to a higher risk of falls in older adults, which shows that this is not just about movement, but about protecting your body from instability. To perform this exercise, stand behind a chair and hold the back of it for support while maintaining an upright posture. Then slowly step one foot out to the side using a small and controlled movement, after which you bring your other foot toward it and pause briefly to stabilize your balance before repeating the same motion in the opposite direction. You should move slowly and with control, taking about 2 seconds for each step, and perform 8 to 10 steps in each direction, which counts as one set, and then complete 2 sets either daily or at least 5 times per week. As you improve, you can gradually reduce your reliance on your hands by progressing from a full grip to one hand and eventually to fingertips, because this exercise is recommended for building control rather than just movement, and it is this control that plays a key role in preventing falls, while over time you will begin to feel more stable when walking, turning, or changing direction. At this point, you have already begun building a foundation in both standing strength and side-to-side stability. But the next exercise develops something even more critical for real-life movement and independence. If you have been finding this information helpful so far, you can support the video by pressing the like button so that more seniors are able to see it. And you can also subscribe to the channel because more simple, research-based health guidance is shared regularly. Now we move forward to the next level, where these exercises begin to focus more on control, reaction time, and real-world stability. Exercise number 3 is the sit-to-stand, which is one of the most essential movements after the age of 60, yet it is often ignored because it appears too simple at first glance. Many people assume that if they are already able to stand up, then there is no need to train this movement. But from a clinical perspective, this is actually one of the first abilities that begins to decline over time. The primary muscles involved in this movement are the quadriceps at the front of your thighs and the gluteus maximus, which is your main hip muscle. And these muscles are responsible for helping you stand up, sit down, and maintain an upright posture throughout the day. You rely on these muscles constantly in everyday life, whether you are getting out of a chair, getting out of bed, or standing up from the toilet. And when this movement becomes weaker, you may start using your hands more frequently, feel slower when standing up, and notice that your balance is becoming less stable, which over time can lead to increased dependence on external support. A study from the University of Cambridge in 2014 found that poorer sit-to-stand performance is strongly associated with reduced independence and a higher risk of falls, which highlights how important this simple movement really is. To perform it, sit on a firm chair with your feet flat on the ground and about shoulder-width apart. Then bring your feet slightly back so they are positioned under your knees while keeping your posture upright, after which you gently lean your chest forward and stand up slowly using your legs, taking about 2 seconds to rise and pausing briefly at the top before lowering yourself back down over 3 seconds in a controlled manner without dropping into the chair. You should start with 6 to 8 repetitions and perform 2 sets once per day. And, if necessary, you can use your hands lightly at the beginning before gradually reducing that support over time, because this progression helps rebuild independence and improves your ability to stand without effort. Exercise number 4 is the heel raise, which focuses on strengthening the calf muscles. And this movement is often overlooked because many people focus primarily on the upper parts of the legs while neglecting the lower portion. However, the calf muscles, specifically the gastrocnemius and soleus, play a crucial role in movement because they control your push-off when walking and also help you recover your balance when your body begins to lean forward. When these muscles become weak, your steps tend to become shorter, your walking speed decreases, and your ability to recover from a trip or stumble becomes more limited. Research from Wake Forest University in 2018 showed that stronger calf muscles are associated with faster walking speed and a lower risk of falls in older adults, which demonstrates how impactful this simple exercise can be. To perform heel raises, stand behind a chair and hold it for support while keeping your posture upright. Then slowly lift your heels off the ground and rise onto your toes over a period of about 2 seconds. Hold briefly at the top for 1 second, and then lower your heels back down over 3 seconds in a controlled manner without dropping quickly. You should start with 8 to 10 repetitions and complete 2 sets daily. And as your strength improves, you can gradually reduce how much you rely on your hands until you are able to perform the movement with minimal support, because this exercise helps improve walking strength and enhances your ability to react quickly when your balance is challenged. Now we come to the final exercise, which is the most important of all, because it combines strength, control, and real-life movement into a single action. And this exercise is the step-up. Although it may appear to be a simple movement, it actually trains one of the most demanding activities in daily life, which is climbing stairs. The primary muscles involved in this exercise are the quadriceps, the gluteus maximus, and the hamstrings. And these muscles work together to lift your body upward against gravity. When this ability begins to decline, stairs can become increasingly difficult, leading many people to avoid them altogether, which then causes their overall activity level to decrease and their strength to decline even further. A study from McMaster University in 2016 found that step-based strength training significantly improves lower body function and mobility in adults over the age of 60, showing that this exercise plays a direct role in maintaining independence. To perform it, use a low step or the bottom stair of a staircase. Stand facing it while holding onto a railing or wall for support, and place one foot fully on the step before leaning slightly forward and pushing through your front leg to step up, bringing the other foot up to meet it over about 2 seconds. Then slowly step back down 1 foot at a time over 3 seconds in a controlled manner. You should start with 6 to 8 repetitions per leg and perform 2 sets 3 to 5 times per week. And as you become stronger, you can gradually reduce your reliance on your hands and aim to perform the movement with lighter support, which will help improve your mobility, increase your confidence, and allow you to move more freely in daily life. Now that all 5 exercises have been covered, it is important to bring everything together into a simple and clear routine that you can follow at home, because each movement serves a specific purpose and supports a function that your body relies on every day. The goal is not to remember everything perfectly, but rather to perform each movement correctly and consistently over time. You can begin with the single leg stand by holding a chair, lifting 1 foot slightly off the ground, and maintaining an upright posture while holding for 10 to 15 seconds before switching sides. Repeating this 4 to 6 times per leg once daily, while gradually reducing your support, which helps improve your balance, control, and ability to recover from instability. After that, you can perform the side step with support by standing behind a chair, stepping to the side, bringing your feet together, pausing, and then repeating in the opposite direction while moving slowly and completing 8 to 10 steps each way for 2 sets most days of the week, which builds side-to-side stability. Then, you move on to the sit to stand by sitting with your feet flat and slightly under your knees, leaning forward gently, and standing up over 2 seconds before sitting back down over 3 seconds. Repeating this 6 to 8 times for 2 sets daily, which strengthens your ability to stand independently. Next, you perform heel raises by standing tall, rising onto your toes over 2 seconds, pausing briefly, and lowering over 3 seconds, while completing 8 to 10 repetitions for 2 sets daily, which improves walking stability. Finally, you perform the step-up using a low step, stepping up with control and stepping down slowly while completing 6 repetitions per leg for 2 sets, 3 to 5 times per week, and gradually increasing the step height as you improve, which restores your ability to climb and move freely. The most important thing to understand is that you do not need to perform everything perfectly from the beginning, because what truly matters is that you start small, move slowly, and remain consistent over time, as real change comes from consistency rather than intensity. After the age of 60, strength is no longer about lifting heavy weights, but about maintaining control over your body, your movements, and your independence. I have seen many individuals who once struggled to stand, walked with fear, and avoided stairs gradually regain their confidence, not by doing more exercises, but by consistently doing the right ones. So now the question becomes simple. Which one of these exercises will you begin with today? And you can share your answer in the comments, because every message is read and support is always available. If you found this helpful, you can subscribe to continue receiving simple and research-based guidance designed to help you stay strong, steady, and independent. And as you move forward, remember to take your time, move safely, and trust your body, because it is still capable of improving at any age.